Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Back to Ashes. My name is Phoenix. To the elite members, thank you for your dedicated love and devotion. I reciprocate the love right back to you. Thank you so much. I'd like to say that I'm a one-man team. I'm the one that narrates, edits, and puts these videos out. I do not use any AI within any of my videos. It is just me and my voice. So if you would like to support non-AI garbage, please leave a like, a comment, hype the video, and if you would like to become part of Back to Ashes, hit that subscribe button and make sure you set your notification bell to all. That way you know every time I upload a video. With that being said, it is now time to go back to ashes. For once we arise from the ashes, we are bigger, brighter, stronger, and a happier person every day. Sit back, relax, kick back, grab a snack, or tuck in and get warm. And prepare for your dose of vocal melatonin entitled True Unsolved Mysteries. Right after this intro, there will be an ad. I'll read the first case, there will be an ad, and after that, there will be no more ads within this video. The death of Jessica Patrick Balter. Early life. Jessica Patrick Balter was born on January 8, 2000. From Lake Babine First Nations. She grew up in and out of foster care in Fort Babine, approximately 100 kilometers north of Smithers, British Columbia. This was due to her parents' struggle with substance abuse and intergenerational trauma. When she was 14 years old, Jessica was placed back in the care of her father, Mike Balter, who'd quit drinking after losing his children. Growing up, Jessica was known for being bubbly and goofy. She never let what she was dealing with in her personal life impact those around her, instead opting to uplift her friends and classmates. She had two passions during this time: makeup and social media, with her using the latter to regularly connect with her extended family. As she got older, Jessica bounced around between the homes of friends and family. When she was 17, she gave birth to her daughter, Alea, who quickly became her entire world. The two were inseparable. The young mother wanted to do what was best for her daughter and give her the stable life she didn't have growing up, leading her to agree to move back in with her father. Sadly, the then 18-year-old never got the chance to relocate, as she went missing just a few days later. Disappearance and death. On August 31, 2018, Jessica arrived at her grandmother's house to drop off Alea. She'd planned to go out, but reassured the pair she'd be back soon. It's reported she attended a party with friends at the Mountain View Hotel on Highway 16 near Smithers. Things got a bit rowdy at the gathering, with police called to deal with a fight at the location. In the days following the party, Jessica's friends and family were unable to get in contact with her. Her grandmother was particularly worried, given how much she adored her young daughter. On September 3rd, with their concern becoming too much to ignore, the 18-year-old's loved ones reported her missing to the Smithers Detachment of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP. Unfortunately, as is common with cases of MMIWG, investigators initially didn't take the report seriously, telling Jessica's family she was probably out partying and would return soon. This lack of action from the authorities didn't stop her loved ones from organizing their own searches or putting up posters in communities along Highway 16, which is notoriously known as the Highway of Tears, given the amount of women who've gone missing and/or been found dead along the stretch of road over the decades. 3 days after Jessica was reported missing, the RCMP put out a news release about her case. They told the media that multiple searches were being conducted and warrants secured to try and identify anyone who was involved in the 18-year-old's disappearance. The search for Jessica came to a tragic end on September 15, 2018, when her aunt decided to search a ski hill just north of Smithers on Hudson Bay Mountain. Noticing birds circling the area, she peered over the embankment and saw a human body some 15 meters below, near a discarded washing machine. It was her niece. When found, Jessica was still wearing the ballerina flat and white tank top she left her grandmother's house in. The position of her shirt, pushed up against her breasts, indicated that the 18-year-old had been placed where she was found. Investigation. It took the RCMP several days to confirm the body found was that of Jessica Patrick Bolter. They have never revealed a cause of death, citing the ongoing nature of the investigation. Jessica's family has been critical of how investigators have handled the case, saying the detectives have given them the runaround. Case contact information. Anyone with information regarding the case is asked to contact the Smithers Detachment of the RCMP at 250-847-3233. Tips can also be submitted anonymously via Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. The disappearance of Keeslyn Roberts. Early life. Keeslyn Noel Roberts was born on October 22, 1999, to parents Shannon and Eric Roberts. The pair's only child, she was better known by her nickname, Butterfly, and she was the center of her parents' world. The family lived in Dalton, Georgia, where Eric ran his own truck company, Eric Roberts Trucking. Growing up, Keeslyn was described as having been a good kid with a big heart. In her later years, she got mixed up with what her father describes as the wrong crowd, who introduced her to drugs. This resulted on her sometimes ending up on the wrong side of the law. In March of 2018, she was arrested and charged with 2 counts of possession of marijuana, possession of tools for the commission of crime, use of communication facilities in drug transactions, and possession and use of drug-related objects. Nearly 2 years later, in January of 2020, she was arrested and charged with the sale of methamphetamine. At the time of her disappearance, she was said to be living with her boyfriend in Chatsworth, Murray County, Georgia. Lead up to disappearance. On January 17, 2020, Keeslyn was scheduled to attend a probation meeting with the Whitfield County Sheriff's Office in relation to her 2018 charges. She failed to attend, and thus a warrant for violation of probation was issued in her name. Disappearance. Keeslyn was last seen on January 18, 2020, at the Flying J off I-75 at 288 Resaca Beach Boulevard in Resaca, Gordon County, Georgia. According to a press release issued by the Gordon County Sheriff's Office, officers responded to a 911 call that day in regards to a suspicious female, presumed to be Keeslyn, at the truck stop. It's reported she entered in an employee-only kitchen area where she had an altercation with an employee of the detached Denny's restaurant. She hastily left before officers arrived, but had left behind her backpack, which an employee handed over to the police. Inside were her wallet, debit card, ID, some cash, and her phone charger. There are some outlets that have stated she told witnesses she was at the truck stop because she had arranged a meeting with an unnamed male. However, this has not been elaborated on. On January 20th, 2020, her family was searching for her when they came upon her white Toyota Corolla parked in the far corner of the back parking lot of a Flying J. They found the majority of her belongings still inside, including her purse, but could not find no sign of her in the area. While Keeslyn was officially reported missing with the Murray County Sheriff's Office that day, investigators would not be made aware of the vehicle's discovery until a few days later on January 29th. The search. Initially, the case was handled jointly by both the Murray and Gordon County Sheriff's Offices. It has since been taken over by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, or GBI. according to the family. There was initially a rumor that Keeslin had simply been staying with her boyfriend, as she was known to be living with him at the time. However, when spoken to by Eric, he revealed that he hadn't seen his girlfriend in a few days. Any calls to Keeslin's cell phone go straight to voicemail. It's believed she has her phone in her possession, as it wasn't in her car, nor in her backpack, but that it's either off or has run out of battery. 2 days before Keeslin's disappearance, on January 18th, another young person went missing from the same truck stop, 21-year-old Caleb Nathaniel Smith. After a few weeks of searching, Caleb's body was located in a marshy and wooded area in the northwestern part of Gordon County, near Sugar Valley. An autopsy revealed there were no indications of any foul play, with the official cause of death classified as an overdose. While initially there was the belief that the two cases could be connected, given the time frame and the location in which they happened, it was later determined that Keeslin and Caleb weren't known to each other. However, some believe they may have known the same people. Rallying around the Roberts family, the local community came together and helped launch a social media campaign to help raise awareness about the case. They also helped in organized volunteer searches. One search, which involved four-wheelers and aerial drones, spanned approximately 100 acres around the area where Caleb's body had been found, while another was in a wooded area near the Flying J, as in March of 2020, some of Keeslin's clothes were found in a fern bush behind a dumpster in the parking lot. Eric tried to put up a missing persons flyer in the truck stop, but was told he couldn't. There's also been controversy surrounding the lack of lighting and surveillance footage outside the building. In regards to this, a Change.org petition was created by a user by the name Lord Farquaad to try and implement a change that would require the company to install security cameras overlooking the parking lot. Its aim is to receive 5,000 digital signatures. Eric offered a $10,000 cash reward, no questions asked, for information leading to his daughter's location. In order to better fund it, he set up a GoFundMe fundraiser, which had a goal of $20,000. It's since been shut down. Investigators had interviewed numerous people who Keeslin was known to associate with, as well as the man she'd said to have been meeting at the Flying J. No information regarding these conversations has been released. There have been numerous unconfirmed sightings of Keeslin or a woman matching her description by truckers across the United States. The cities include South Bend, Indiana, Dallas, Texas, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Eric has been very vocal about the case and consistently speaks to the public in order to bring awareness to it. He stated that he has a hard time believing Keeslin would have disappeared on her own and feels there are people out there who know what happened but aren't talking. Eric has also expressed concern regarding how the police, in particular the Murray County Sheriff's Office, have handled the investigation. He claims Detective Eric White is not doing all he can to find his daughter, stating that the Sheriff's Office has not made an effort to obtain security footage from the Flying J or check Keeslin's phone records. He has also shared that he's provided the detective with a list of possible persons of interest and other information, but feels the leads are not being investigated. Eric's fears are also shared by those on social media who feel investigators aren't taking the case very seriously due to Keeslin's criminal record. Given their concerns regarding the investigation, the Roberts family have hired their own private investigator. Given the ongoing nature of the case, they've been unable to share what they and the investigator have uncovered thus far. The aftermath. In celebration of Keeslin's 21st birthday, the family held a candlelight vigil at the 11th Avenue Baptist Church in Dalton. Eric created the Missing Keeslyn Roberts Facebook page, where he posts updates about the investigation and pleads with the public to come forward with any information they may have. It hasn't been updated since 2023. Details. Keeslyn Noel Roberts was last seen at the Flying J truck stop off I-75 in Rescata, Gordon County, Georgia, on January 18, 2020. She was 20 years old, and what she was wearing at the time is unknown. At the time of her disappearance, she stood at 5 foot 6 inches and weighed approximately 125 pounds. She has blonde hair and blue eyes and has a tattoo of a sea turtle on her lower right arm. Her ears are gauged and the holes are large enough to be noticed with the spacers removed. Case contact information. Currently, the case is classified as a missing persons investigation. Those with information regarding Keeslyn's disappearance are asked to contact the Murray County Sheriff's Office at 706-695-4592 or the Gordon County Sheriff's Office at 706-629-1244. Tips can also be called in to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation at 706-624-1424 or the Roberts family's private investigator at 423-413-6848. The disappearance of Carly Gousset. Early life. Carly Gousset was born on May 13, 2002, to parents Lindsay Fairley and Zachary Gousset. When she was a toddler, her parents divorced, and she soon had a third parent in her life, stepmother Melissa Gousset. Her family also consisted of 2 younger brothers, who were aged 9 and 10 at the time of her disappearance. In August of 2018, Carly moved with her family and stepmother to Chalfin, California, a rural community of about 650 people just east of the Sierra Nevada, between Yosemite National Park and Nevada. Given in size, many work and attend school in the nearby town of Bishop, just 14 miles away. The Gousset family lived on Ponderosa Street, near White Mountain Estate Road. At the time, Lindsay had relocated to Yerington, Nevada, approximately 160 miles from Chalfont. Carly, wanting to remain close to her friends, decided to stay with Zachary, despite Lindsay having been granted physical custody of her daughter. When Carly wasn't attending classes at Bishop Union High School, she worked a part-time job at the title company Melissa worked for as an escrow assistant. Those who knew her described her as a fun-loving and sweet girl who had a great sense of humor. Despite her quiet and introverted nature, she was popular amongst her classmates and was well-liked by many in the school community. Lead up to disappearance. Around the time of her disappearance, Carly was dealing with the repercussions of having been suspended from school for having been caught using marijuana on campus. As her grades were also plummeting, she was forced to attend counseling, which seemed to help get her marks back on track. In the days before her disappearance, her friends say Carly was experiencing episodes and was worried someone was tracking her through her cell phone. However, both Melissa and Lindsay have said they themselves did not observe any unusual behavior. On the evening of October 12, 2018, Carly asked Melissa if she could attend a football game at the high school, but had actually planned on going to a house party with her boyfriend. Unaware of her stepdaughter's real motives, Melissa granted her permission. At around 8 p.m., Melissa called and asked if she needed a ride home from the game, but was reassured by Carly that her boyfriend would be driving her home. The events after this phone call are the result of information gleaned from Carly's parents and those who attended the party. According to attendees, Carly began to panic and became frantic, and she was said to have been near impossible to console. At 8:30 p.m., she called Melissa and asked to be picked up from the trailer park where the party was being held, saying, "Never mind, hurry up, I changed my mind, come get me. I'm booking it down Dixie Lane. Hurry, hurry, I'm scared." Worried, Melissa drove to the area, noting that Carly hadn't wanted to get off the phone and had been adamant about being picked up as soon as possible. When she arrived at the trailer park, she found her stepdaughter was nowhere to be found. While searching the area, Melissa spotted a small light and found Carly almost a mile away, running down the street and using her cell phone to guide her way. When she spotted her stepmother, she jumped in the car and told her she was very scared, an emotion that was echoed in her face, which Melissa described as having been ghost-like and with dilated pupils. Throughout the drive home, Carly vocalized her fear that the car would kill her, and she changed seats numerous times. When they'd returned, Zachary was home from work. According to both he and Melissa, Carly was still acting erratically, huddling frantically in a corner one minute, then telling them how much she loved them the next. She was particularly afraid of her cell phone and of her parents getting close to her. When asked what was wrong, she was unable to tell them, saying she didn't know herself. To try and calm Carly down, Melissa served her dinner, a salad which she referred to as the devil's lettuce. While her frantic behavior had died down, she still appeared anxious, disoriented, and paranoid, and she eventually admitted to having smoked weed while at the party. This led Zachary to believe she may have had an adverse reaction to the drug, as she hadn't used in some time, but both he and Melissa felt she wasn't in immediate danger and didn't drive her to the hospital. After dinner, Melissa and Carly spent time in her bedroom, painting their toenails, coloring, and reading from the Bible. While Carly had calmed down, she was still acting out of the ordinary, so Melissa took out her own cell phone and began to secretly record her, with the intention of showing her stepdaughter how she acted when high. In the 8-minute, 45-second video, Carly can be heard saying she didn't want to sleep in case she was killed, and she asked Melissa if she could call 911 if something bad happened to her. After the video was recorded, the pair spent a while chatting between 10:30 p.m. and 3 a.m. before both falling asleep. Disappearance. The family's movements on the morning of October 13, 2018, have been heavily scrutinized after Melissa admitted to Dateline NBC and Dr. Phil that she'd lied about her initial actions. Initially, she said she'd gone about her usual routine, waking up at 5:45 a.m. and getting the kids ready for school. However, when she'd opened Carly's door, she found she was not in bed, and Zachary hadn't seen her that morning. The actual version of events is as follows. 5:48 a.m. Melissa awoke briefly to see Carly was lying awake next to her and fell back asleep. 7:15 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Melissa awoke to find Carly was gone and the front door slightly ajar. Worried, she and Zachary spent 2 hours driving around White Mountain Estates and the surrounding area, thinking Carly had simply gone for a walk to clear her head. 9:35 a.m. Unable to locate her, Zachary called Lindsay in Nevada, who, in turn, told him to contact the authorities. Investigation. With no immediate indication of abduction or a physical description of a vehicle, no Amber Alert was issued in relation to Carly's disappearance. Due to the remote area of Chalfont and the limited resources available to the Mono County Sheriff's Office, the FBI and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were brought in to assist those working on the case. While investigators visited the home, they found no indication of forced entry. Carly had left behind all of her personal belongings, including her cell phone, glasses, and what money she had. The FBI combed her cell phone and social media accounts and found a text to her boyfriend, which indicated she believed the weed she smoked at the party had been laced with something. This has led them to believe she could have still been feeling the effects of the drug when she went missing. 3 possible sightings were brought to the attention of the authorities. A neighbor and retired motorcycle officer with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office recalled seeing a thin female with long hair walk by his house on Ponderosa Street with a piece of paper in her hand. Another neighbor who lives down the street on White Mountain Estates Road, west of Ponderosa Street, claimed to have seen Carly during this time, also with a paper in her hand. A third witness, who was cutting firewood, saw a girl fitting Carly's description in the vicinity of U.S. Route 6 standing behind a barbed wire fence. Given these accounts, investigators were able to determine Carly was likely last seen walking south toward the highway, approximately 30 yards east of Route 6 and 100 yards south of Sierra View Road. Some online sleuths have speculated that the girl seen by these witnesses was Melissa, not Carly. There's been no evidence found to substantiate these theories, as there are no security cameras on the exterior of the home, nor are there any gas stations or other structures in the vicinity with their own cameras. A family friend has shared that Carly had never given any indication that she wanted to run away or that she was involved in anything more sinister. A week-long search was conducted by the sheriff's office, involving helicopters, searchers on horseback, and off-road vehicles and cadaver dogs. 60 law enforcement personnel were involved and aided by search and rescue teams, who combed the surrounding areas and Bishop. On October 25, 2018, these efforts were officially suspended, but that didn't stop the private search parties from setting out to comb the high desert and White Mountains. Throughout the course of these searches, Melissa would provide live stream updates via Facebook. Posters with Carly's image and description was put up in grocery stores, gas stations, on light posts, and in diners across Eastern California. A week after she went missing, the sheriff's office set up a checkpoint along Route 6, and while 50 people shared that they'd driven through the area on October 13th, none recalled seeing anyone matching her description, walking along or near the road. In December of 2018, bloody underwear was found near some coyote scat. It was collected for testing, but wasn't sent to the right facility and was, instead, delivered to the California Department of Justice. The sheriff's office has since stated they don't believe the underwear to be linked to the case. In January of 2019, 18-year-old James Doolin pleaded guilty to contributing to the delinquency of a minor in relation to Carly's use of weed at the party the night before she disappeared. He'd initially been arrested on allegations that he'd provided the drugs to her. There have been reported sightings of Carly in California and Nevada, but none of them turned out to be her. The last came from a recovering drug user in January of 2021, who claimed to have seen Carly at a party in Tonopah. It's unclear when the party occurred, but investigators believe they've located the vehicle they may have driven the missing girl across state lines to Nevada. The investigation is still classified as a missing persons case due to the lack of evidence that a crime occurred. Investigators don't currently have a theory as to what happened and, as such, are open to all possibilities. While their tip line has received numerous calls, there have been no viable leads. In 2022, the NCMEC released an age progression image of what Carly possibly looked like at 20 years of age. A private investigator hired by Lindsay said the sheriff's office hasn't followed proper protocol when investigating Carly's disappearance, citing the fact they didn't take her bedding for analysis. They also didn't search the family's cars. Lindsay fears her daughter may have overdosed on the night she went missing, while Melissa believes she was abducted. She recalls a chat she had with Carly, where she asked about LSD. This had led Lindsay to suspect she took the drug and was high that night. Lindsay feels Melissa awoke to find Carly had died, given her lack of credibility. According to her, her daughter's stepmother had shared 4 or 5 stories about the events of that night. Melissa denies this and any involvement in Carly's disappearance. Theories. Number 1. The theory provided by Lindsay and online sleuths is that Carly died from a drug overdose. Many feel she never made it out of the house alive, and some have noted her erratic behavior couldn't have solely been the result of her having smoked weed. This leads into Lindsay's belief that her daughter had taken a stronger drug, possibly LSD, which would explain her behavior and strange thoughts on the night she went missing. Number 2. A popular theory in the case, and one that's been suggested by Melissa and Zachary, is that Carly was kidnapped, most likely while walking along Route 6. During an interview with the Gouset family, Dr. Phil speculated that she may have been picked up by human traffickers while walking along the highway, meaning there's a possibility she could still be alive, but is being forced to work in prostitution. Number 3. The final theory states that Carly's disappearance is related to that of Madeline Lingenfelter, who went missing from Reno, Nevada on September 19, 2018. There's no evidence to support this theory, as Madeline's body was eventually located and her cause of death deemed a suicide. Aftermath. The Bring Carly Home Facebook page was created to help raise awareness about the case. Carly's disappearance has twice been featured on the Dr. Phil show, with her mother, father, and stepmother all making appearances. The case has also been covered on the Crime Stories with Nancy Grace podcast. Lindsay has kept up a constant stream of social media posts in an effort to keep awareness of the case in the public eye. She has pleaded for anyone with information to come forward and report what they know to authorities. Throughout the course of the investigation, the family has been subjected to ridicule and cruel comments by those online who believe Melissa and Zachary had something to do with Carly's disappearance. At the beginning of every football game at Bishop Union High School, the announcer reminds attendees to keep Carly in their thoughts and prayers. Details. Carly Lane Gouset went missing from Chalfont, Mono County, California, in the early hours of October 13, 2018. She was 16 years of age and is believed to have been wearing a white t-shirt, Vans brand shoes, and either dark gray sweatpants or a pair of skinny jeans. It's been noted that she wasn't dressed for the harsh elements of the surrounding desert. At the time of her disappearance, Carly stood at 5 foot 7 inches and weighed 110 pounds. She has brown hair and blue eyes, and her left nostril is pierced. Case contact information. Currently, Carly's case is classified as endangered missing. Anyone with information are asked to contact the Mono County Sheriff's Office at either 760-932-7549 or 760-932-5678. Tips can also be called into the Sacramento field office of the FBI at 916-746-7000. The strange disappearance of Marcia Ryan. Missing in Australia. In August of 1996, 33-year-old Marcia Ryan made a spontaneous decision to drive to her parents' vacation home in Queensland, an approximately 20-hour drive away from her own house. This abrupt choice came after a brief period of uncharacteristic behavior, during which her friends and family noted that she was displaying unexplained signs of paranoia. No one was sure what might be bothering the unusual reliable and stable Marcia, but her sudden change in demeanor began after taking in a boarder, whom she evicted just a short time later. Marcia would never make it to her parents' place. Both she and her dog Ziggy mysteriously vanished along the way, leaving behind an abandoned vehicle, Marcia's wallet, which would be found discarded in a separate location, and strange eyewitness sightings, including one in which she was allegedly spotted with two unknown men. Many years have gone by with no resolution in her case, and the question still remains: what happened to Marcia Ryan? Marcia Ann Ryan. The youngest of 5 children, Marcia Ann Ryan was born in Australia on July 19, 1963, to parents John and Joanna. Those who knew her described Marcia as intelligent, professionistic, honest, and reliable. She was outdoorsy and enjoyed activities such as scuba diving. In her early 20s, she went through a difficult period. She was in an abusive relationship while also struggling with substance abuse. This culminated in an episode of drug-induced psychosis, during which Marcia was hospitalized. Afterwards, she spent time in a rehab facility, determined to beat her addiction. She eventually recovered, left her abusive boyfriend, and moved back to Victoria. Following this dark chapter in her life, she started thriving and was said to be happy and mentally stable. She began working for her aunt and uncle's transport company and was said to be hardworking and dependable. She was in another long-term relationship, this one reportedly much healthier than her previous one, but it ultimately ended. By 1996, 33-year-old Marcia had been single for a few years and owned her own home in Seaford, Victoria, where she resided with her beloved 10-year-old dog Ziggy, a loyal and well-behaved heeler border collie mix who never left her side. A change of plans. In August of 1996, Marcia took in a boarder, a choice she soon regretted. According to her friends and family, she evicted this man, Stephen, within days. Her mother, Joanna, said that Marcia was frightened of him. However, her father believed that she simply felt uncomfortable living with someone after being on her own for so many years. For his part, Stephen recalled things differently. In an interview years later, he claimed that he was her tenant for an entire month, no mere days, and that they got along well, though he couldn't shed any light on why she wanted him to leave. The reason for these discrepancies is unclear. Perhaps Stephen was misremembering things after so much time had passed. Her loved ones became concerned about Marcia's mental state as she began to display signs of paranoia that seemingly centered around Stephen. She stated that she'd caught him leaving bones and feathers in her backyard, causing her great discomfort because she feared that he was placing a hex on her. She had never made claims of this nature before, leading those around her to question what was going on. It appears that something about Stephen, whether real or imagined, sparked a feeling of distress within Marcia that has never been fully explained. On August 19th, she told her manager that she wasn't feeling well, though she didn't elaborate on what was wrong and needed to leave work early. She went home at 12:30 p.m. This also happened to be Stephen's eviction day. Her brother Mark came over to make sure that everything went smoothly, which it did. Stephen left peacefully, and Mark stayed with his sister until 10:40 p.m. that night. About 15 minutes after he departed, Marcia called her parents, who were at their vacation home in Surfers Paradise, Queensland, and told them she planned to drive there and stay with them for a few weeks. John and Joanna were both surprised by Marcia's uncharacteristically impulsive decision to take such a substantial amount of time off work and make a 1,200-mile drive to see them. Quote, "Dad, I just need a break. "Don't try to talk me out of it. I'm coming up and I'll see you in a few days," Marcia told her father. She had apparently already left her house by then. Later, police would express puzzlement over this call and weren't sure where Marcia had been when she dialed her parents. They only knew that she didn't make the call from her residence. Marcia's abandoned vehicle is found. The distance from Marcia's home to her parents' vacation house was roughly equivalent to driving from New York to Miami. Instead of taking the inland highway, she opted for the more scenic coastal highway, which meant her trip would require approximately 20 hours of driving. Strangely, she made a 45-minute detour early in the journey and went to Camberwell to withdraw $50 from an ATM. Why she chose to go so far out of her way just to take out a small sum of money, or whether she did anything else while in Camberwell, remains unknown. Now, Marcia, accompanied by Ziggy, was ready to go. Unfortunately, she hadn't made it far when she ran out of gas and pulled over near a 24/7 petrol station on Princess Highway in Yawlorn, an inland town. A Safeway truck driver reported seeing Marcia on the side of the highway at 11:50 p.m., walking towards Morwell in the direction that she had been driving and away from the service station. According to him, she appeared distressed, and when he asked her if she needed a lift, she told him to leave her alone. He didn't read too much into this at the time, assuming that a woman on her own in the middle of the night was just naturally wary of being approached by a stranger. Not wanting to frighten her further, he left. Interestingly, the trucker didn't report seeing a dog with Marcia. However, he was never specifically questioned about Ziggy, so it's unclear whether he really didn't see a dog with her or just didn't think to mention it. This would prove to be the final confirmed sighting of Marcia Ryan. A passing police car spotted her vehicle at 2:48 a.m. No one was either in or around the car, and the officer noted down the license plate number. A baffling disappearance. When Marcia's family didn't hear anything from her for 3 days, they began to worry that something was wrong. Her brother Tony went over to her home and discovered 15 messages on her answering machine, including one from the police, letting her know that her car was going to be impounded if she didn't come pick it up soon, and one from a caller letting Marcia know that they'd found her wallet on Princess Highway in Darnham, about 12 miles west of Yawlorn. Oddly, it appeared that Marcia didn't pack much, if anything, for this trip, as Tony found basic provisions, like her toothbrush, still in the house. Marcia's car and wallet. Tony went to the police station and inquired about Marcia's abandoned 1980 Mitsubishi Sigma sedan. According to the police report, the car was found unlocked with the keys still inside. However, when Tony asked for the keys, the authorities were unable to provide them and instead gave him a coat hanger with which to unlock the vehicle. He found the car empty, and there was no sign of either Marcia or Ziggy anywhere in the immediate area. He was also struck by the oddness of where his sister had chosen to park, on the side of a busy highway with steep cliffs on either side. He later described the site in more detail. Quote, "She stopped in a cutting with steep cliffs upwards on both sides of the highway. Definitely not a spot to pull over and get out of a car, let alone for a dog to have a run. I went there with a friend after midnight a couple of weeks later, and I would not have pulled up there, as it is quite dangerous for passing traffic at 100 kilometers per hour. Side note, nothing more is said about her car being out of gas. The motorist who found Marcia's wallet said that both it and her credit cards had formed a line on the median of the highway, as if someone had tossed the wallet from a moving car. From where it was found, in relation to the road, it was determined that the wallet had likely been thrown from the driver's side window. Nothing appeared to be missing from it. As previously noted, this discovery was made in Darnham, which Marcia would have already driven through before arriving in Yawlorn. Does this mean that she was the one who tossed her wallet out as she drove by? If so, what compelled her to do such a thing? The search. After she was reported missing, a large-scale search for her was carried out by her family, volunteers, cadaver dogs, and the police on foot and horseback in Victoria, Queensland, and Tasmania, the three states where unconfirmed sightings of her were reported. They were joined by 20 members of the State Emergency Service, or SES, and 5 task force detectives. Authorities spent weeks searching the vast bushland and rural areas surrounding the highway where Marcia's car was found. On September 26th, reinforcements arrived, and around 150 police personnel scoured the Princess Highway from Darnham to Morwell. The upgraded search effort included an aerial scan by police helicopter. Meanwhile, Detective Inspector John Noonan continued to encourage Latrobe Valley residents to report any sightings or information they may have about Marcia. Despite the substantial search effort, no one was able to find the missing woman or any evidence relating to what happened to her and her dog. Detective Inspector Paul Sheridan, quote, "It's a significant period of time for a disappearance, so yes, we do have a grave fear for her safety." In the days following Marcia's disappearance, several reports of a dog matching Ziggy's description came out of Bunyip, about 40 miles west of Yawlorn, but these sightings couldn't be substantiated. Theories. Marcia's family members struggled to come to terms with her loss, and each had their own idea about what had become of her and why. However, despite her uncharacteristic behavior and seemingly troubled mental state just prior to vanishing, neither her family nor the police believed that she had taken her own life. Foul play versus runaway. I have believed from the beginning that she is dead. I think somebody did something to her, said Joanna. John, on the other hand, believed that his daughter had chosen to leave and get away from it all for a while. He thought that the reason she never returned was out of embarrassment due to her actions and the media coverage of her case. My personal belief is that Marcia is still alive, somewhere, said Tony. Tony also felt it was possible that Marcia chose to hitchhike that night, something both she and her brother had frequently done when they were younger. Marcia's former tenant was eliminated as a person of interest early in the investigation. When Detective Jim Cook was asked whether he thought it was plausible that Marcia could still be alive, he replied, "It is possible." Tony also believed that she was still alive and gave a rather detailed theory. Quote, "I believe she made a decision on the drive from Seaford to QLD. She decided that she wanted to get away and discarded all ID and then her car, the only thing she had with her that could identify her. I feel she started to hitchhike towards NSW and was picked up between 1 and, say, 6 a.m. that morning by some young people heading toward NSW and told them she wanted to get away." Grief. Aside from whatever might have occurred with Stephen, another possible reason for Marcia's distress prior to her trip was the impact of grief and past trauma. On September 28, 1980, Diane, Marcia's older sister, died in a car accident. Marcia, who was in the car behind Diane's, witnessed the entire thing. Those closest to her said that after losing the sister whom she admired so much, a part of Marcia died with her. And while she was generally believed to be a happy person, she went through a period of grief each year as the anniversary of Diane's untimely death approached. However, Teresa Lynch, Marcia's best friend, had a different perspective. Teresa spoke to her just 4 days before she vanished and felt that nothing was amiss with her. She seemed happy and alive, as she normally does, said Teresa. The coroner's ruling. When the coroner eventually issued the controversial ruling that Marcia had died on or near the day she went missing, it came as a huge shock to the Ryan family. As far as they knew, not a single shred of evidence of foul play or that Marcia was even dead had ever been discovered. There was no body or anything else to prove that she had died. 10 years later, Tony Ryan wrote that the ruling had rocked his parents, who expected an open finding. He said he was sure it took 10 years off his mother's life. Recent development. John and Joanna refused to sell Marcia's home, even a decade after she vanished, still hopeful that the daughter they missed so much was alive and will return one day. Sadly, both of Marcia's parents have since passed away. The only members of her immediate family still living are 2 of her brothers, Tony and Paul. Her aunt, Thea Thompson, said that Marcia was still at the forefront of her mother's mind, even in her final days. Quote, "I'll never stop missing her, even when my sister, Marcia's mom, had cancer and she was on her deathbed. She had a photo of both her girls and told me, 'I am finally going to know what happened to Marcia.'" Thea added that she never stopped thinking about the case. Quote, "I thought 1,000 things when she disappeared. I thought maybe she did want to get away from it all. But that theory didn't fit because she left everything and she was very organized that way. Little things like her toothbrush was at home and she was meticulous with brushing her teeth. Her bank account hadn't been touched. These thoughts make the unknown hard." More unconfirmed tips. Numerous people have contacted the Ryan family over the years, offering tips about Marcia's case. Among them was a woman who called Tony in 2017, claiming to have knowledge of his sister's whereabouts. 3 years ago, a Trafalgar woman came forward and told me that she heard a story from her brother-in-law that Marcia was buried in Moondara State Park. I have had a couple of people tell me that, but it has never been confirmed. Tony remains committed to finding out what happened to his sister. "Many people have contacted me with vague information, but I need specifics. I need that last piece of the puzzle to find my sister. I have even thought of searching the Moondara State Park when I retire." Looking for closure. Marcia's remaining loved ones continue to hope for a resolution. "We would like an answer. Without an answer, you don't get closure," Tony said. "There is a 6-week period every year where Marcia is front of mind. Her birthday is July 19th. Then, Missing Persons Week on August 2nd, and the anniversary of her disappearance on August 19th. People need to think about what the information they are withholding can do. My suggestion would be come forward to the police. It will save a lot of heartache for families." In 2024, a man named Stuart Booth came forward with new information. In an interview with ABC, he claimed to have seen Marcia the night she went missing. According to him, he spotted a white station wagon with 2 men standing on either side of it. Then he noticed a woman. "I believe it was Marcia standing at the back left-hand side of her own vehicle," Booth remembered. He said that he went to law enforcement about the encounter after he found out she was missing, but they were dismissive of it. A truck driver, Brian O'Donnell, also had an unsettling story to tell. While driving on Princess Highway, he spotted a woman hiding behind some trees. "I could tell she didn't want to be seen." Was this Marcia? Unfortunately, that question may never be answered. Marcia Ryan's case is still unsolved. The explanation for her apparently troubled mental state on that August night so many years ago, as well as her disappearance and ultimate fate, remains a mystery. If you have any information regarding Marcia's disappearance, you are encouraged to contact Crime Stoppers Australia at 1-800-333-000 or submit a tip online. And that, dear listeners, is going to bring a close to these true unsolved mysteries. I'd like to take a moment and thank the rest of the members of Back to Ashes. Thank you all so much for your remaining dedication and your patience. As I always like to say, without you, I don't have a voice, and this channel does not exist. I'd be sitting here talking to myself if it weren't for you. So I deeply, deeply appreciate you and your support of the channel. If you are sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you comfortably. If you're awake, I hope you've enjoyed these selections. Until next time, please stay vigilant and take care of yourselves. I'll be reading to you soon. Have yourselves a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Peace, love, and light to you all.